Welcome to the Big Fat Real Estate Checks podcast with Marco Kozlowski, where we help investors like you get the knowledge and skills you need to replace your JOB with passive cash flow for life.
Hey everyone, welcome to Big Fat Real Estate Checks. I'm Marco Kozlowski, the fearless leader. I put that into quotation marks with Gabriel Araish today. Frank is MIA. He's at Disney with his family and having a grand old time. So it's just Gabe and I today, and we're going to be discussing something that's actually impacts us all, which is change, and how change is inevitable. I can't see, just the thought of change is, making me stutter. And how to adapt with change, what happens if you don't adapt with change, things that are changing constantly, big decisions that we make that are going to affect our lives, not affect our lives, because if you don't make decisions, generally decisions are made for you. Procrastination, all those things. And of course, if you are just listening to us for the first time, just hit the pause button, listen to the first 10 episodes, please. The Big Fat Real Estate Checks is all about learning skill sets in order to adapt a phenomenal life of cash flow and abundance and time, having time and money without necessarily having your own money, but using skill sets in order to leverage other people's money and using knowledge in order to really help other individuals and really make an impact in their lives, so you can pretty much make as much money as you choose. I don't know what's going on.
Rough day.
Rough day. Yes, it is. So let's talk change, man. I know you're. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag as far as what's going on in your life, but you're going through some big changes, very exciting changes right now. I've had many changes over the last few years, and it's how we adapt to those changes that really make us who we are. So I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit, Gabe. Maybe first we start with, does change? Let's talk about, is change real? Do things change? Let's start with that obvious concept.
Yeah, change. You use the word inevitable, and although that's true, I also think it's to a certain point necessary to make a change. And I think when things don't change, you fall into another trap that's called comfort, and maybe we can address that a little bit later. But change does happen, and it happens. Sometimes it's planned change. Sometimes, most of the time, it's just spontaneous, shit hits the fan, or sometimes it's good change where things happen and you get this amazing opportunity, but it requires you to make a decision. And that's what's kind of interesting about change, I think, is change always gives you an option. And it's, the road is split into two, and you can choose to, not accept the change or not make the change and kind of remain in your lane, which, I don't want to say it's never bad. It could be good to a certain extent. Some people are happy with consistency, so they may feel happy, but it's the what could have happened had you changed. And most of the time, with change comes growth. I think every time I've pivoted in my life, or some change happened, whether it was due to good circumstances or things that kind of hit me in the head, just like a ton of bricks, where I just got faced with some challenges, and I can continue pushing through these bricks, if you will, or I can just change the course and avert them. Making the change was a difficult decision, but once I did it, I grew. I became a better person, and I learned so much from these changes. So I think my initial story is well documented through the podcast, where I've had to make a change in my behavior in order to be able to grow, and I've done that. I've succeeded at that. I still have a lot of room to grow on that side of things, where I continuously believe in growing and making little changes. And these changes are changes that I'm aware of. They're things that I know I have to change in order to become better. But sometimes life hits you with situations, like, I'm going through a change right now, which was something that wasn't really planned, or at least wasn't planned for a long time. And, I'm facing it. It's been a difficult decision to make. It's been a difficult year of planning, but I'm excited. It's I was telling you before the podcast that it's like I played soccer at a pretty, high level. I guess not super professional, but just I guess under the professional ranks there in as elite as you can get at the amateur level. And every time I played a game, I would, just before kickoff, I'd still get butterflies, right? Like I was excited to get started. I knew what was going to happen. I mean, it's just a game. I've been playing it since I'm 5, but the excitement of getting in and getting started, the butterflies were always there. And as soon as kickoff was, the ball was kicked the first time, that's it. That all went away, and I kind of ended up in this zone where it was another world where I can actually weed out all the noise and everything about it. It's just a phenomenal feeling. And I have these same butterflies now with this next, step of my life. And kickoff hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen, shortly. But, to me, that's good news. It means I'm prepared and I'm excited about something that I have no idea how it's going to end. And so...
Well, you have a couple imageries there that I want to capitalize on. Number one is the sport by itself. And when you're playing soccer or football, depending on which country you're in, there's always change on the field. The ball is never going to be exactly where you think it should be or could be, or the play that you're expecting is going to be always different, and you have to adapt to that change quickly. So the first segment of this podcast is, does change happen? Does it exist? And if you just look at the world a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, it's not the same world at all. It's constantly changing. Rules, laws, opportunities, ebb and flow. The opportunity that was here today has gone tomorrow, a new opportunity happens. So change is constantly around us. And the question that you have to ask yourself is, are you changing as quickly as the times are? And in most cases, the answer is absolutely not. We're just doing the same shit that we've been doing forever and wondering why we're not where we need to be. And I know Wayne Gretzky, a Canadian hockey player, said, I'm not going to be where the puck is. I want to be where the puck is going to be. So he's always anticipating that change. And any wealthy person is constantly looking at what the opportunity is going to be. And even if you're wrong, you're going to be okay because you're adapting to change as quickly as possible. So really I guess the question is, are you okay with change? How are you handling change? Are you adapting well to change? Are you preparing for change constantly? Are you growing for change that's happening? Are you taking care of are you really capitalizing on the opportunities of change? Or are you just bitching and moaning and complaining that things have changed? And if you're always grumpy that things aren't like they used to be, well, that's the past. It'll never happen again, ever. So what do you think happens to those that are just, rah, rah, rah? This is not like it used to be, living in the past. I heard at one point, I wish I could take credit for it, but I didn't invent it. If someone is focused on the past, then they're depressed. If someone is focused in the future, then they have anxiety. And if someone is really in the present, then you're actually living. You don't have any of those afflictions. So by just being present and seeing what's around you, I think you can have you can see what's changing. You can be receptive to it and be excited by it versus terrified by it. And I know change is scary for all of us. Things are always changing. And it's just, I think, part of the process.
It is. And we've mentioned that fear is something that blocks people, but that's exactly it. It's change. Fear comes with change, or change comes with fear. Ultimately, that's I think that's what's beautiful about this world, is you get to get tested over and over again in your life, and you get to make that choice whether you're going to accept the change, accept that there's some unknowns in there. I think fear is really fear of the unknown, right? At the end of the day, you're scared of what could or couldn't happen, versus where you're going if you stay the course. It's as simple as that. But the idea of being able to put that aside to just make a change, it's an incredible feeling too when you're making that change, because there's also a sense of commitment to it. I mean, and maybe I guess in future episodes we can, once my official change has been made, if you will, we can have a discussion. But there's a point of no return when you're making a change and you decide that I'm gonna go through with this, and that's it. And then you gotta commit to it, because if you don't, then you're caught kind of in a limbo where, are you doing it or you're not doing it? And then you're
indecisiveness.
You're stuck. You're kind of caught like between a rock and a hard place, and then that's not good. You're not growing, that's for sure. It's almost worse than staying the course, in my opinion, because you're seesawing or ping-ponging.
The number one cause of accidents is not the decision that you made, but the lack of decision that you made. Indecision is what causes accidents. But just to come back to what we discussed before the podcast, is what are the stakes for not changing? If you look at it that way, most people are terrified of change, really terrified of it. And I'm scared of it too to some point, because I don't know what's going to happen there. First time I bought a hotel, didn't know what I was doing. First time I bought an apartment building, I thought it was going to be scary. Commercial, man, that sounds really scary. I don't want to get into that. It sounds complicated. I was scared of it, and I avoided it for a very long time until I had no choice. And I regret not doing it sooner. And all fear stands for is fuck everything and run at the end of the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just it's designed to keep you away from something. It's a fight or flight mechanism. But what are the stakes for not doing whatever you're wanting to do? If you don't change, what's going to happen? And I think that understanding what the stakes are for not accomplishing the things that you want to really change and need to do in order to have the things that you want out of life, or if you stay doing exactly what you're doing now, where will you be in the next 5-10 years? Most likely in a worse place than you are now, because the world is changing faster than you can adapt to it, and the standard of living is just going down, down, down with inflation anyway, which is a whole other conversation.
Oh my God! But so so for the listener who's listening to you, like, how do you measure the stakes?
Well, let's say that I'm a musician, which I have been, and I have kids to feed, and I'm like, why do I even have 4 kids? I can't even afford myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got all these kids to feed. I'm in a situation that I really don't like because I'm always broke. Kids are needing me every 5 minutes. I don't have time to myself. What am I going to do? I can keep doing what I'm doing. I can jump off a bridge. I can abandon my kids, which is not an option. At least for me, was not an option. Or I can think, how am I going to give my kids the best possible life that I never had?
And hold on.
What are...
Yes. Geez, even abandoning your kids is technically making a change there. So...
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
But this is not an... The
it's
stakes
not an
to
option
that is
for you.
not acceptable.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But just so...
I'm not wired that way.
Yeah.
Some people are.
Correct.
I get it. I want to abandon my kids every 5 minutes when I was young. I was like, I got to get out of here. I understand it. It's just...
That wasn't
an
option.
Brave enough. Well, I wasn't brave enough for that change. Let's put it that way. That was just... I wasn't... it's embarrassing. I wasn't man enough to make that change. Maybe, I don't know. I just could not. I love my kids. I just, they were just extremely needy, and they're a pain in the ass when they're kids. I have 4 kids in diapers at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and they're expensive as hell, and I didn't have any money. So, it's, what have I got myself into? Like, why did I even have 4 kids? How did I even agree to this? Why did I keep having sex after 1? Like, I don't understand it. So it was just, but it just, how did I make this changing decision, right? These were changes that I made myself. So I can't be mad at my kids for decisions I made. That doesn't make any sense. I can't get mad at them. I have to get mad at myself. And if I abandon them, that's, letting them go. But anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
But okay.
So the question is, so I can either do nothing, in which case what will definitely change is my mental sanity. It's not going to get better, and they're not going to get better. They're not going to have a better life. And in fact, things get more expensive over time, and there's no way that I would ever be able to survive unless I could take care of these people. So what can I do? I can get a job. I didn't have any real skill sets other than being a musician, and musicians don't make a lot of money. Or I can learn a new skill, and if I get a new skill, what new skill can I learn that would make me the most amount of money? And I researched who made the most amount of money on the planet. Answer is real estate. So that's the direction I went into. And that's the change that I decided to make. And the stakes for me was, if I'm not successful, I will starve, and my kids will starve, and will be derelicts and be living on the street, and I will be a miserable person for the rest of my life. Disappointed in myself that I couldn't take care of my kids. For me, that was the stake. And everyone has different stakes. So if the stakes aren't big enough, then you're not going to be motivated to change in that direction. And I've, for those of you that have been following me for quite some time, I started with nothing, made a lot of money, lost everything in 2009. I'm talking millions and millions of dollars, was homeless. But the advantage that I had is that I had the knowledge but I lost my drive until I understood that I shouldn't have lost my drive. And that was on me. So it's once you have these epiphanies and these learning opportunities, as I call them, and as you call them as well, Gabe, change can be a very exciting thing. And tell you the truth, I wouldn't change a damn thing from where I started to the money I've lost, to the hard times that I've had, to going to McDonald's with $5 in my hand and buying 4 Happy Meals or 99-cent meals because I didn't have the money for the tax on the 5th one. I was looking for pennies outside and seeing if someone would give me the extra tax money so I could get 5. I remember those days, but those days made me change to where I am now because of the decisions that I've made and that you're going to make as a listener. So anything that's happening to you that might be bad, again, if you think your world is falling apart, maybe it's just falling into place. Look at it that way.
Yeah, that's well said. And that's an example of change that I guess it's a self-change. It's your decision to make a change. Sometimes change comes in the form of an opportunity. How many times did you hear people say, well, I could have bought this stock at $5, or Apple or Amazon when it was $10, or Tesla when or Bitcoin, and
Bitcoin at $1.12.
And you know what? Probably most of us have had the opportunity to actually do all these things and decided not to. So these are opportunities that come that force you to make a change in a certain habit. Maybe it's in the way you invest. Maybe it's in where you work. It could be sometimes it comes in relocation. Sometimes you get this opportunity. Your employer, you work for an employer, and they'd say, hey, we got this job opportunity, but it's across the planet. Like, you got to pick up and move your whole family, go across the planet, and that's scary, right? But the opportunity, maybe you go there and life is a lot better for you and your family if you do that. And maybe it's not, but you don't know that. So change is an amazing thing. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Or you tried real estate and you lost all your money because, you didn't do it right. And it's not because real estate doesn't work. It's maybe your approach that doesn't work.
I'm Exhibit A right here. I've done real estate wrong and failed miserably. And I chose to change the way I did real estate because I was convinced that the real estate vehicle was still the correct one. The problem was the driver. That was me. So I had to, almost reprogram myself, re-educate myself, and get the right help around me to be able to move forward and stay in this beautiful, beautiful game of real estate. So, yeah,
right.
Change is amazing.
And we've changed our approach to real estate as the economy has changed. And as I've evolved as an investor and understand how we can monetize things better, we're no longer just looking for this kind of deal. Any deal that comes in, we can actually make money on if you understand how to approach it. So it's a really neat journey.
Yeah.
Say it that way.
Journeys. Yeah.
Where as you start being more receptive, leave your ego at the door and realize that it's really not about us. It's just observing the change and see how we can ride that wave of change. So you're not fighting it. You're not resisting it. You're not like pushing the wave and trying to stop it. Because there's no way that you can go into, a beach and try to stop a wave. It's not going to happen.
No.
It's going to go right over you. It's stronger than you. It's nature. Forget it. But you can certainly ride that wave of change. And no matter what the political situation is, whatever your personal situation is, no matter what that wave looks like, or how big it is or monstrous it is, the better you are at surfing, the more fun you're going to have in that change.
And it's not easy. Even
takes
big
practice.
Well, even big corporations haven't made certain changes and have succumbed to it. Like you see how, like Amazon itself came about because they kind of put everything online in the digital age, and a lot of these brick and mortar stores suffered a lot. Some of them closed down because they refused to change. I don't know if you guys had this in the US. We have the Yellow Pages over here, which was this big phone book with all the...
Yeah, we had that.
Yeah, so, and then...
Does that still exist?
They never changed their model. And yeah, they finally kind of went belly up, I think, or whatnot, or they decided to adapt 20 years too late. But it's just an example that, making change is necessary, at least in my opinion. But it's not easy, and that's kind of the fun part, because when you do something that's easy, it's not as gratifying as when you do something that's very, very difficult and you succeed at it. And the beauty about change is you're going to succeed at changing. It might not be what you expected it to be, but it's still going to have helped you grow in one way or another.
But it might actually be better through the mistakes that you make. Like Netflix at one point was trying to compete with Blockbuster, and they had a subscription model. They didn't have any digital media. It was all subscription. And then they got a subscription base up, and then they started doing everything online. And then Blockbuster, and the irony is Netflix did a special on the last Blockbuster, just one big last fuck you to Blockbuster. Here's the last one on earth that is being shut down, and it's a special on Netflix, which is, almost sad but hilarious at the same time. And we're all dinosaurs unless we see that change, do something about the change, and action on that change, and really try to have fun within the change, which is sometimes not easy because it can be so terrifying. And I don't think anyone really loves change until you really start seeking the fun. Like, you were saying earlier, you get comfortable.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right. And then you get comfortable being comfortable. And then suddenly you get uncomfortable being comfortable. And then suddenly you want to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's, I think, the best place to be.
It's exactly where you want to be. And
that's not easy.
No, it's not. And it's actually a mindset. Like there's a point where, when you make a decision that it's almost never comfortable making a change, but you have to believe that you'll be comfortable making it. And that's when you become comfortable or with being uncomfortable. And I think I'm reaching that point where I basically accepted everything that's come to me in terms of changes and just decide to deal with it, because I truly believe as a human being, whether it's as a father, as a partner with you guys, or as a soccer player on the field, I'm constantly growing because of these changes, and I'm going to keep embracing it.
Even a soccer player today to what they were doing 20 years ago, right? I think if you take a soccer player from 20 years ago and that was one of the best in the world and brought them here now, would they be one of the best in the world based on how other soccer players are performing? I don't know if they would be or not. Maybe hockey players, I know
maybe to have a harder
the
time.
way they're trained is because they're getting better and better. Look at the world records in anything. They're always getting better and better, faster and faster and faster.
Correct.
So it's just there's always evolution in how we train and how we do things, our perspectives, what's possible. Bumblebees aren't supposed to fly, but no one told them that they can't, so they do. Anatomically, you're not supposed to be able to fly a bumblebee.
That's right. They're too heavy.
But they didn't get the memo. So they're just going to say,
so if you believe you can do it,
you can. You just have to believe in that change.
Yeah.
I don't have to stay on the ground. I can fly.
I believe I can fly.
I don't think we are allowed to do R. Kelly songs. I think it's inappropriate.
No.
It's politically incorrect.
That's right. Forgive me.
Things have changed, Gabe. Things have changed.
Got it.
That's funny. So man, we went on all sorts of different tangents, and change is scary, change is important, change is necessary. If you don't change, you're dead. That's just how things are. And one day all life is a series of changes, and how we adapt to them and how much we enjoy that process. And you can have a shitty life by being miserable with all the changes and trying to fight change, which is like fighting the wind or the ocean. Or you can just coast and enjoy it and just bask in change and profit from it. And not only monetarily, but emotionally, physically, spiritually, like just enjoy the change and the beauty of it. And I think if you do that, you're going to be a lot happier and a lot wealthier in many ways.
Agreed. Ask yourself what change you can make in the next, 2, 3 months, 6 months, next year. Start being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Absolutely. Well, I think we nailed it. We can always come back to it if we think we have other topics that we want to go over it. But if you like this, please like it, love it, share it, comment. Let us know how you feel. Let us know what you think. What changes you want to see. Waka, waka, waka. And anything else that we can do to improve your life. And of course, I'm Marco Kozlowski. This is Gabriel Araish. And I hope you have enjoyed this episode and we've added value to your life, and look forward to the next episode. Thanks, Gabriel. Thanks, listener. Have a great day. Ta-ta for now.
If you like this episode of Big Fat Real Estate Checks, then show some love by leaving a comment and a good rating. Also, as a thank you for tuning in today, we've got a special free gift. The journey to passive cash flow for life starts by finding deals, and it's easier than you think. Simply go to getdealsbytuesday.com, enter your email address, and we'll send you a free quick start course called Deals by Tuesday. Even if it's 11 p.m. Monday night, this course will show you how to find discounted real estate deals by Tuesday. It's that fast and simple. Go to getdealsbytuesday.com and start your journey toward life-changing cash flow today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode.